All right, guys, welcome back. I haven't done one of these in a while. State of the hobby. With me today, I got Soul Collectibles, I got RMS, and of course, I got Manu, 9.9 Newsstand, soon to be PSA 10. How's everybody doing?
Doing all right, man. Doing all right.
Yeah, I just wanted to open up the whole video with starting with how you guys been doing in your collecting journey and or reselling or both. We'll start off with Soul, man. What's been going on with you? You've been a little bit quiet on the IG side, at least.
Yeah, man, I've just been kind of collecting, I guess, behind the scenes. I wouldn't say a weird point in my journey, but I'm just kind of collecting, not ripping as much product, and right now not grading as much. I had a little incident to where I thought I lost a PSA package, and it was a lot of cards. It was like 80 cards, and it was my error, but it was found. It's gonna get put into the system. We're all good. But I think just an idea of where I'm at in my journey, I guess, with what I want to collect and what I want to showcase, and kind of the brand I want to build. So I'm just kind of figuring all that stuff out. But as far as buying, selling, trading, just trading, buying Marvel Platinum on e-pack, really, just buying a few packs here and there. I love the set, to be honest. So yeah.
That's dope, man. Yeah, and RMS, we'll go on to you, but I have noticed on your IG, you've been a little bit more active. You've been putting a little pairs together, some comic and card pairings. So you've been doing a good job, man. You've been stepping up your game on the IG side. What's going on with you, man?
I'm just experimenting, dude. That's all. Just enjoying myself, just get creative mind going. And yeah, and I've gone through my collection and stuff and kind of just like revisited some things, and some stuff I haven't posted, some stuff, that I brought out from long ago. So but yeah, I appreciate the love. I've been, trying a little bit. I'm not going too crazy, posting everything, every single day, but I'm trying.
Nice. And Manu, what about you, man? What's been going on with you? You've been doing a lot of stories, but not a lot of posts.
What you mean? My stories are posts, man. They all get posted. They get posted here and there. I had a post today about my story, about the video. Then we did the stream, and the stream was just an incredibly good time. And then I obviously posted that the stream is available for the rewatch. But that's what I was up to today, man. We had a nice stream today. Me with our friend MJ Comics. We had a presser with us, great guy, the Palm Beach presser, because he put out a really moving sort of statement yesterday about what's going on with CGC and how they're encapsulating books with warped inner wells, bending people's books. And he sent an email to his customers, compromising his own profit and saying, hey guys, this is what's happening. It's prevalent. It's important that you know, and I can't in good faith continue to submit your books without you knowing. And in fact, I recommend that you guys don't submit for a while until CGC gets the message and figures it out. And so that issue has been going on for several months, but it's starting to get community traction. I put up a story a few days ago, realized that very many people saw it, and then a lot of people saw it. It was a successful story, but a lot of people responded as if they had never heard of it before. And that's when I realized, all right, this needs to be vocalized a little bit more. But I didn't know that I was going to do it. But I just felt like, okay, now people are curious. They didn't know about it. I started responding to people's messages, and people became even more fascinated. And then the next morning, I saw that post from the Palm Beach presser, and I had a stream set up with MJ Comics to go over PSA updates. But we still handled PSA updates, but the first hour and a half of the stream definitely became dedicated to this situation going on. So that's what I was up to today. And generally speaking, I'm up to more of the same, the sort of thing that I'm doing and stuff. I do have a piece of art that I bought here. I'll show you in a second. But also I want to say that I saw that Soul was featured on PSA today. So he's got cards floating around over there. And RMS over here keeps getting featured at CGC with his friend Ali. Ali Collectibles over there keeps featuring RMS's cards. So they're both getting a bunch of shine, and people still think that I'm not even a card collector. So we're going to have to fix this some way somehow.
They know you're into Marvel Masterpiece XL, and you're just influencing that.
Oh,
right
you
now.
know what?
We got some friends.
That was a setup. That's what I should have said. I'm up to this.
Yeah, so you're really pumping that set.
Oh
That's
wow.
what I should have said. I'm up to this. I love what I love. I know what I like, man.
Hey man,
I love it.
I'm glad they're in your collection. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'll let you have that, Alexis. I'll let you
Yeah.
have that.
Hey, but I did want to ask you guys. I know we definitely all entered the hobby at different dates and different times, but in general, I would say I think from my conversation with all you separately, we've all been in the hobby at least 2 or 3 years. And again, starting with you. So, what have you seen as the biggest changes in the hobby since you came in?
I think right around 2 3 years ago, I did enter the hobby. Like kind of 100%. I would probably say, shoot. I mean, I wasn't really familiar with the whole lot regarding, I guess, set release date. Oh, sorry. Let me. Embarrassing.
No, you're good.
Wasn't really familiar with, I guess, kind of the practice of upper deck and kind of into the politics and learning that stuff and about how, I mean, Spider-Man metal being released in 2022, but on the back of the card is 2021. Understanding that after I entered after the bubble, in regards to grading a whole lot of vintage 90s stuff and people being able to flip, sell, make money easily, rinse and repeat. Not as much as that going on. Um, Really, you kind of see less of an exposure with, I guess, at the time PMGs, but not just explicitly PMGs, just Marvel cards in general. Up until Spider-Man Metal, up until this recent PSA magazine where they talked a lot about Marvel cards, in the term rookie card and everything, and then they actually brought up 66 Donruss to
Hey,
that McFarlane set. RMS has experience in 99, and I mean, I think just the market, and I guess the way to go at the market, and, in regards to buying and selling, that's changed. I
Mm.
think if you stand the test of time within a period like this, you'll be successful in that aspect. Successful where monetarily, it's a different story, but I think every hobby experiences a time like this, and to this point right now, as of today, it's kind of a weird the just collectible card games and collectibles in general are a little bit in a weird state. I wouldn't say uneasy, or just not as strong. Things are going cheap or things are going expensive. More or less, things are kind of just dropping in value. But I can't say. I would say just kind of buying, selling, and flipping. That's changed the most since I've entered the hobby. And I think probably there's not as much money as there once was.
That's a great point you bring up, Anna. And I've said this in the past, but I remember talking to a sports guy back in like 2019, right when I was getting into it. And I remember he was telling me that he recognized it was a bull market because of the fact that he said he had been doing it for over 10 years. And to him, if he was able to flip a card and make 25% on that transaction, he was more than happy. And when
Oh
we
yeah,
came in, people were 5xing, 10xing, you know what I mean? And so 20, imagine being grateful for just 25% gains.
yeah.
So
I mean,
yeah, that's a
they,
good
they,
point.
they say 20%, profit margin, if you want to talk money. I think 20% you're successful, in quote business or brand, depending on objectively. But yeah, if you come in, you grade a card, let's just say the pump set from 90 mu, you grade just a Electro. I think probably one of the least favorite villains of, I don't want to say that's a little bit too much of a hot take, but just the least popular villain of Spider-Man, in a 10, think was selling for $400 or $500 at the height, maybe even 600, and then it settled down to 3, and then now it's, I think, just floating over $100 for in a 10. I might be wrong, but I did grade a handful of stuff from 90 mu, and just like that, you buy a box for $600, and if you can grade one card and it be a 10 and it be kind of a B or C tier character and make your whole money back on the box and everything else is cream cheese on top, it's, I think, collectors and buy, seller, flippers, whatever, what have you, got to learn to adapt, especially in the, I don't want to say economy, but I guess in the
yeah,
state of the hobby. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
Um,
I like
People that
that.
have been in, the hobby long enough, they've seen a period like this before. They
Yeah.
adjust accordingly, and then they localize on a certain, I don't know, avenue, and they get to it.
Another thing I wanted to touch on real quick because you mentioned it indirectly, but why the hell was Elektra in the Deadpool Wolverine movie? Right? Like
I
I
haven't even
get
seen
why
that movie,
I get why
especially.
they brought back Blade and Gambit, but why was even Who? I'm just being honest. Who was like in the back or any kind of fans going, "Bring back Electra"? Who?
Well,
Oh,
they wanted-
Electra.
they wanted to
I thought you said
present-
Electro.
I thought that's who you mentioned when you said the 90 MU cards. I thought you said.
Oh
Electra.
no, I said Electro as in Spider-Man.
Oh,
The
my
Sinister
bad.
Six Electro.
Yeah,
My
yeah,
bad.
yeah,
Okay, okay, my bad. That was on me.
You're good.
Yeah. Yo, RMS, go ahead. What were you gonna say?
Oh, nothing. It's because they brought all the characters that all starred in Fox Marvel movies. Is kind of what the whole big was at, right?
That was the theme. That
There
makes
was
sense.
somebody else. I can't remember who they were going to bring back as well, but they failed to do it. I can't.
Was Daredevil or Bullseye in it? Any of like the other characters?
Well, Electro had a standalone movie. Daredevil, of course, had a movie as well. But I'm
Right,
trying to
back
think.
then.
It's not coming on top of my head right now. There was another character that they couldn't bring
Gotcha.
in. I forgot.
And same thing. What are your thoughts, RMS, like on the biggest changes you've seen since you've come in?
Well, I've been collecting since 2016. So I came back into collecting a long time ago. I was doing Pokemon and stuff and with my kid. And, I would say before that time, I was just collecting raw cards and stuff. I would say the biggest change for me in the last 3 to 4 years is grading.
Okay.
Grading companies, just the amount of grading of cards, collectibles. You can grade video games, VHS tapes. I mean, from a collectible standpoint, it's like everything can be graded now. You can put everything in a plastic and put a number on it, and then and hopefully trust what they put down is correct. So I think for me, markets always change. The COVID was just, to me, it was like a blip in the market. It's just everything went straight up, and markets can't do that and survive. So like I already knew I let go of a lot of stuff in the end of 2020 and 2021. I let go of a lot of things because I saw the prices and I was like, this doesn't make any sense. You can buy this Charizard card for $4,000. It ain't worth that. It's not gonna be worth that. Like in a lifetime, it won't even be worth that. So I saw that, but I just saw as soon as that money was going and everyone started seeing the graded cards and graded collectibles going up, it's like the amount of stuff being graded year after year, it's gone off the roof, right? And then if you look at it from just like TCGs and stuff, Pokemon is like the most dominant. Now, obviously, it's the most dominant thing getting graded for trading cards, and it's just, to me, that's the biggest evolution I've seen. Not just markets. Markets always change. You're gonna have stuff go up and stuff, but I still feel like COVID was a fluke. I don't think it'll go down below where it was for COVID. I think it might get pretty close. But for right now, I mean, like grading collectibles, grading cards, it's just a lot. Like there's just so much. And then you had new people coming in the market, like HGA and stuff, and a bunch of other new grading companies. They're not going to last. That was just, those were all flukes as well. So, you had failures too. BGS didn't take advantage of a lot of stuff that happened. It's not like PSA was successful during COVID. They couldn't handle it. They had no idea that boom of all those cards were going to be shutting down the post office in Newport Beach. So to me, like that was just absolutely crazy. And the market for me, every time because I've been selling to eBay now since 2020, but I just noticed all my sales are usually like if I have an increase in sales, it's usually about the beginning of the year, and then it kind of settles off usually around the summertime, and then usually down fall, like Q4, it just dies down. Like it's just I don't have a whole lot. It's just notorious because of the holidays and stuff. But like I said, grading to me has been the biggest like evolution of collectibles. It wasn't really a thing back in 2016. Not a whole lot of people were grading cards that much.
That's a great point, man. One of the things I wanted to explore with the grading thing you mentioned was you said like everything's getting graded now. And one of the things that I always think about is there's things that should be graded. And I mean, look, you can grade whatever you want. But I am wondering, like, some people say that it's like the junk slab era, right? And I do agree with that for the most part, with a lot of sets and a lot of TCGs that are being graded that shouldn't have. But how do you feel that way with other stuff, like video games, like cassettes, like Funko Pops? To me, at least personally, I don't understand the Funko Pop market, but just based on like the fact that most of them are not numbered, I think that's also a waste. But what are your thoughts on that, all of you? I've always wondered that. Like, how do you guys feel about all these things being graded, and should everything be graded?
I think the Funkos are a waste of plastic to grade, in my opinion.
The Funkos,
they're just great. you're just creating a box, man. It's just the box around it. And then video games, I guess video games to me makes some sense, especially if they're sealed in a box.
Mhm.
That's rare. You know what I mean? Like some sealed like red or blue Pokemon games and stuff, or even the Maximum Carnage. I've seen Maximum Carnage sealed for Super Nintendo. Like that's, to me, that's super cool. Like having it sealed. I don't really want to grade it if it's complete in a box. I don't really care. I'll just, like, I have complete in box games and I'll just leave them like that. I think sealed is kind of a cool thing. Things that are sealed that are graded. You know, VHS tapes are kind of cool, but like to me, it's just nostalgia. I don't really like if it's like an old historical type of collectible, then I'm totally fine with that. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But it's just the grading's just it is getting insane now. It's to me, it's getting too much.
Yeah.
But you know, it's collectibles. Everyone collects something different, and if they want to potentially grade something or encapsulate it, you know, to hold on to it for a little bit longer, then so be it, you know. But the Funko, I don't get it. Sorry.
Yeah, no, you're good. Here's another one for you because you brought it up as well. Like you brought up, a lot of people during COVID at least thought it was a great idea to open up their own grading companies. How come it was easy? I mean, even as you were saying it, right? How come it was easy for us to see it from the outside looking in that it was not a good idea to try to compete against these giants? But whomever invested money in their company was like, huh, seems like a good idea to me. Let's do it.
I'm just lack of common sense and logic. Like I mean, I don't see why they would have done that.
Yeah.
But you know, it was the latest and greatest. Like HGA, they
Mhm.
had a custom label. They were coming up with like horizontal slabs and stuff. And
Yeah.
the way that they
Oh,
were
that's right.
doing their website and stuff, like they were trying something new. So I give them that. So that's probably why. And they saw that graded card boom going on. They're like, hey, let's put some money into this. So they obviously got some investors to, you know, to believe in it. But you can't enter the market keeping up with already established BGS. SGC was already in there, and then PSA, of course.
Yeah. Yeah. So, or Manu, do you guys have any thoughts on those two things? Like everything being graded and then just people starting up grading companies out of the blue?
Manu?
Um, I think it's absolutely the junk wax era, but I'm speaking specifically about cards and comic books. Like, you know, modern releases that are all high grade as it is, there's really no reason to spend your money to have a 9.8 or whatever written on it and put it into a piece of an encapsulation that takes up more space, right? So now you've invested more money into something that everybody has in the same condition already, so it's meaningless to identify its condition, and then it takes up more space, right? So for the practice, that sort of thing definitely has led to some sort of a junk wax era, junk slab era. Sorry, correcting myself. And then with cards, yeah, I see probably the same sort of thing, but I think it's actually more rampant. Is that the word? In comic books,
Mhm.
you know, because obviously cards have, you know, numbered cards and parallels and so on and so forth. But in the comic book side, you just have exclusives, like for no reason at all. You know, like here's this store exclusive, here's this store exclusive, and it's like, well, they're all going straight to CGC as soon as they're produced. So what the hell is the difference? If every 300 on the census is all a 9.8, your 9.8, they could all be 0.5s. It doesn't differentiate. So there's no value proposition in owning it in a condition that everybody owns it in. So if you're not selling, if you're selling it, I understand you're going to squeeze a little bit more profit out of it because someone out there is not smart enough to realize, I shouldn't have said that, because someone out there might appreciate the fact that it's encapsulated, even though it's unnecessary for it to be encapsulated, and you're going to take advantage of that mentality and you're going to sell into that market, great. But if you're keeping the book, well, then there's zero reason to encapsulate it. And if you're keeping it with plans to sell it later, there's still zero reason to encapsulate it now, because you could just encapsulate it whenever it comes time to sell it. You know, you could keep a book safe raw just as well as you can in a slab. And of course, I regularly make an argument that a slab does not safe. It doesn't keep your book safe. It's not bulletproof. You still have to be cognizant of what you're doing, what environment you're storing it in, how you're shipping it, how you're tossing it around. It gives you a false sense of security. And I think a false sense of security is sometimes more dangerous than actually realizing you have to take care of something, right? Because you get complacent and think it's going to be okay, so on and so forth. So that's my answer to the junk slab thing. The other thing you said, what was the other question? Was
About
two part?
people open up grading companies because they
I
saw the opportunity to.
I actually never put any thought towards that. If I'm, you know, having to produce some sort of ideas on the spot now, I would just say ambitious people, you know, you never know what sort of how well collateralized they were. You never know, you know, how much money they actually had. Maybe relative to what they're worth, it wasn't a big deal. Or maybe they cut a bunch of corners, and maybe it's not as expensive as we might assume. Like maybe they didn't have a very sophisticated operation. Maybe the only investment was the moldings for the plastics, and then you know they ordered their first 10,000 plastic cases. Maybe they were snap shut. Like I really don't know. I never really looked into it, but they, I guess, did whatever analysis they did. And then also it was like, it was just even the smartest person, well, maybe even very smart people might not have known when that boom was going to end. And even a business person could FOMO into an idea, like, I better get this out here, while everyone's just throwing their money around left, right, and center. So ambitious people took a shot. Listen, you miss every shot you don't take, right? So there are some entrepreneurs out there that don't give a shit about taking a loss. They're playing the idea numbers game, right? If you take the example of venture capital, a venture capital sort of investor may have $1 billion, and annually they might have 50 or 60 million dollars that they're willing to split up $5-10 million at a time, and they're going to place a bunch of bets. And you get one of those companies early and it turns into an 1,000x on you. Well, who gives a shit about the losers, right? So some people might be playing that kind of game, but that is just me spitballing. Never thought about it, never gave it any thought. I saw companies emerging and I decided what I think about that company, but I never analyzed what might be behind it. My head was elsewhere.
Makes sense. Yeah. How about you, Sol?
I mean, similar to Manu, I really never thought about the people creating their own grading companies. At the time, there were some, I guess you could call, I think they're referred to as indie card games that were, COVID projects, for card games. There's one that I invested a lot of money into, and it ended up falling short just because, it ended up, it was a get rich cream. I can't say a gimmick. I'm sure the guy was passionate about, this. He had came up with a good idea for a card game. So I can only really attest to that side of, I guess, COVID, creating your own business, and I guess with all the hype going on. But in regards to the junk wax era, I mean, I grade a lot too. I'm not,
I'm a part of the problem.
Yeah, but I'm not grading, I guess, in quote, things you shouldn't be grading,
Yeah.
I have graded super base cards just because of the set. It was hard to gem. I had success with it. And also purchasing slabs that are could be considered junk wax, and successful in selling that as well. Though it was probably pure luck. And I've tried to do it again. I had not as much, to capitalize on, I guess, the market. But yeah, I mean, as far as grading companies, it's a lot of people. I think it's just they're wanting to think they can do the PSA, CGC, Beckett's, all their jobs better. Everybody grab them on. Oh well, they lack in this. Maybe if I kind of pay attention to that detail, maybe I'll be successful. I don't. But then again, I can't speak. I can't speak for them. What their thought process and what their vision 100% was. Maybe it was just maybe they did have a passion. Maybe it was just for money. But yeah, I have no comment.
Yeah, no, that's a good point from both of you. RMS, like when you mentioned that, and you touched on it too. So like maybe they saw like a need in the market, or try to innovate something where whether it was the case, some people made it more transparent, some people made that landscape. So and they saw that PSA wasn't being able to accommodate all those new orders. So they probably thought, hey, maybe I could get a share of the pie, type of thing. Go ahead, Mona.
I didn't get to answer the question. You were going the main question about what's the biggest changes.
Oh yeah, go ahead. I didn't mean to skip you. You know what I mean?
This motherfucker raised his hand.
I'm not allowed. I don't want to speak out of turn.
He said,
no, I
don't know if that was a salute or if that was a question, but I.
No, it was a question. You got it. You be polite. No, but the question was, what's the biggest changes that we've seen? You didn't give a timeline, but I'm assuming you're saying like from 2020 till now.
Yeah,
I mean,
I just mentioned the last 2 or 3 years, whenever, because we all entered at different points.
yeah, and
RMS said he's
I
been
would,
doing this since 2016, and me and
right.
Soul were probably only the last 3 years.
Yeah, yeah, and me, my reintroduction into collecting from after being gone for so long was also 2020, and so both of, I mean, I think RMS spoke on this, and I agree with that. Is one of the obvious changes is the anomaly spike. Well, we know the factors involved, but it might not ever be duplicated again. The environment that created, these spikes in prices for everything. So obviously, the pullback from that, there's been a change, and that creates a different mentality. Like I don't necessarily believe that the money is gone. The money, a lot of money has left this space, but it's available. I think it created a smarter buyer. You get smacked around a little bit, you start avoiding getting smacked around. And I mean, we just saw that recently. If you watch the Ken Golden thing, you even seen Steve Aoki when homie was trying to sell him, a set of cards for well, I don't want to shine it because obviously it's a friend of ours that
Mm.
whose cards it was, and I wanted him to succeed. But I'm just reflecting on the mentality shift from Steve Aoki, where Steve Aoki was like, "You kidding me? That's not that price anymore. I'm not making that same mistake again." And he offered a fifth of what he was willing to pay in 2021. And so that goes to show you, even the guys that got the money to blow, they decided it's not fun to blow it, right? And
They don't want
so
to get
you had
smacked around anymore.
Right. So you had a mentality shift. So that's definitely a change. And then a clear change that happened more recently than the decline in the market, which is still on a sort of a decline, or maybe it's it's still rough out here. Relatively speaking, it depends on how you look at it. A lot of people can still have a great time and do well when it's rough. It just means you've got to operate a little differently, right? It's not as easy, but some people thrive even when it's not easy. And so the grading controversies have been a big change that I've noticed, and it's changed the sentiment surrounding grading. It's changed the belief in a company like CGC with the scandal that happened with them 6-7 months ago, and the things that are still going wrong with that company, right? And people are more thoughtful. You're already in a more thoughtful space where you've already lost. Some collectors who consider their collectibles investments have paper losses, so they're in a space where they're thinking about it, and then at the same time they're thinking about what this grading company is doing, further devaluing the stuff that they've invested in terms of the graded side of things. And so that's creating hesitancy. So I'm seeing a decline in the sentiment towards third party grading in the comic book side specifically. And as a result of that, a big change, PSA entering the comic book space. There's a very big change. So I've noticed that. And I think those are some of my top line thoughts. Oh, one thing I wanted to reflect on from something that Soul said, and he didn't say one way or the other. He said, some things have gone down, some things have gone high. And I have been pretty adamant about this belief that, the stuff that's good and rare, well, it's valuable no matter what. It's hard to find your buyer, but you may still get the same prices, But if you don't get a bidding war because there's fewer buyers, maybe you don't have something crazy, but you still get good money. And an example I'll give is so people know this, so I'm not putting Soul's business out there. Soul has a sealed box of 1994 Marvel Masterpieces, the Walmart box, right?
Mm.
And in that Walmart box, they have the hollow foils, and the hollow foils are the bronze ones, and they're the most scarce ones to get out of that set. Most recently, a PSA 10 of the bronze hollow foil, the Venom, showed up on eBay. RMS put that on my radar about a week ago, and I was like, oh shit. And RMS knew it was an expensive card, but I think he was surprised to hear, and he could correct me on that, but I think he was surprised to hear how enthusiastic I was about its value, even in this market. And my I didn't make one guess, I made two, but it was this way. I said that card on the low end at a minimum is going to end at $1,200. It's going to be over 1,000. The low end estimate for me is 1,200. And if I think it's getting what it's worth, it's going to be around 2,000. It might be 100 in either direction. So basically, I was saying like 2,100, 2,200 maybe max value out of that card. And we were watching it. And sure, I threw a bid in there. I threw a bid in there at the 2-second mark just in case people were sleeping, right? I want this damn card. So I was willing to put almost $1,000 into it just as a means of owning that card. Even I was comfortable, and I'm usually very cheap about stuff like that. But that is a card that I've always wanted. I still want. It's a pop 5. The listing was wrong. The listing said pop 4, but that's because it was newly graded, I assume, and he looked at the pop before his got registered onto it. It's actually a pop 5. But in any case, I'm watching it in the final seconds. It was only at like $503 or $403, something like that, right? It was something like that. And in the 2-second mark, I put in my bid, shook red immediately. I went into defense mode and I bid a little over 1,000. It's not like I had a rule. I just was hoping to get it for less than 1,000, right? And then I bid a little over 1,000 real quick, no shot. The card ended $2,500. So for me, that is a beautiful case example of something rare, desirable, still getting most likely what it would have gotten in 2021, right? Like it's an exception to the general rule where there is money on the sidelines, and when the right stuff becomes available, money comes out for it. And so anyway, that's some of what I've been seeing recently, and that was a sale that I was recently very excited about. I hope it's a real sale. It only happened yesterday. I haven't confirmed much. I don't know if it's going to get relisted. I hope it gets paid.
Yeah, and if it does, shout out to Shane and everybody at the card drop. Hopefully they do a top 10 video on that sale if it comes out, you know?
Oh, I hope to see that on there, man. That's a good sale. And then we got to rip open Soul's box and see how many bronze PSA 10s we can pull out of that thing.
Come on.
Yeah.
Don't tell me. I'll do it tonight.
Oh, wow.
All right. Hey, Elusive told us we're on a schedule tonight, though. He's got some evening plans, so we only have like an hour left on this. No, we got a little more. We got more than an hour.
Yeah, we got more than an hour. Yeah, and you know, I don't want to get too much into that, kind of what you mentioned, but you kind of got triggered some thoughts in me when you were talking about that PSA 10 Venom. Because you know, certain 90 Venoms go for, you know, $200, $100.
Yeah.
That makes sense why that card goes a little bit higher, because there's 3 different parallels: the silver, the gold, and as you mentioned, the bronze. But there's definitely way, and I'm not even talking about number. There's Venom cards out there that should be worth more than that, but they don't get the same love for whatever reason.
Yeah.
But anyway, going back into what we're talking about, another thing I wanted to ask you guys is we keep discussing like the ups and downs of the market. The market is correcting, people getting smarter. All those are just aspects of market correction. When do you guys think, if ever, that this is going to become a regulated market? And it's a twofold question. So one is, if the market is ever going to be regulated, whether it's 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road. And the second part to that is, do you guys believe that if the market became regulated, there will be more or less market manipulation?
Regulated,
meaning like it's actually like controlled. Whoever wants to take the first one, but pretty much meaning like the government's going to get involved in how the transactions go about.
Let me run with a few thoughts on it, but I won't get into my answer. I'm just going to split it up into like 2 thoughts, and then you know, Ryan and Soul can take that, and then I'll come into it later. But like initially, I do think about regulation, but I think about regulation in regards to how to prevent people from losing all their money in some of the gambling side of collecting. But it's actually really challenging. I don't see the collectible space as a whole becoming regulated, because a lot of these are privately transacted. What sort of regulation is there going to be, right? And there was some forms of restrictions and regulations that sort of came by way of the government to try to make sure people pay taxes on their sales. We saw the limits required before third-party payment processors send you documentation at the end of the year to make sure you pay taxes. That was a government initiative, if you will, right? Because it's federal, right? And then you have the sort of regulation that protects the financial markets. We don't really have the infrastructure for that to come into the collectible space. Now, one place that could be affected with some sort of federal guideline or instruction could be the auction houses. And the reason for that is there's a lot of funny shit that goes on there. There are a lot of sales that don't make sense. There is money laundering. There is manipulation. There are pumped up prices to sell other things at higher prices. And so there's a lot of funny shit going on there. And a government agency of some sort might be like, yo, I think people are getting hurt over here. Or at the very least, people aren't paying hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of taxes. So let's figure that out. So there is some government sort of involvement that might come about. I just don't see a clean way of doing it. But in the overall collectible space, since it is so privately conducted, outside of taxation, I don't know how you're able to govern the movement of items that don't have a controlled value. It's not an efficient market, right? Stock markets and markets that exist in federally governed exchanges, insured sort of situations, they are efficient markets, right? So if you go into one stock market app, it's the same price for that stock as another stock market app. Collectibles aren't like that. So who's to say who's charging right, who's charging wrong, who's ripping someone off, who's not? There's emotion involved. There's all kinds of things involved in making that market. So I don't know if regulation will come in. I think bits and pieces of regulation where they will, and I think it will take time because I think a lot of money is going to stay in this market, and people will see that, hey, there might be some iffy stuff going on here and there. And then the other question I think you asked was, you said, and if regulation comes out, did you say, will it be good, bad, or good for the
Yeah,
collectible space?
do you think will it increase or decrease market manipulation?
Well, manipulators will have to get smarter. I don't think manipulation goes away, and they have to be more disguised in what they're doing. Overall, I actually think regulation might make collectibles less fun, because part of the fun is the danger. I know that I am always trying to guard our community against the danger. I personally do enjoy the fact that there is this sort of like, be careful. That makes it where you have to be smart to participate. And I like that, right? There's an advantage in being alert. And when you remove that advantage, it can get a little boring. It kind of levels the playing field, and that means certain people will lose their edge.
Yeah, and one thing before and RMS jump on, I want to add to that when you were mentioning like how are they going to be able to track these things? Well, it goes back to the slab things that we're talking about. If everything's getting slabbed, everything has a serial number now moving forward, and it's only going to increase that. So it's going to be easier for them to keep track of what's going for what and who owns what.
How would it, if it's private? What, you're going to tell them what you sold?
No, I'm just saying, if it's regulated, what if they put mandates in place where you have to disclose certain things if you're going to get into the market? There's things that we don't foresee. You know what I mean, dude? If they were forcing people to put on a mask, I don't force. I don't. Yeah, put it that way.
Yeah, I mean, listen, at the end of the day, people can be controlled and they can be scared into doing things. And there could be, a letter that shows up in the mail that says any graded third-party certified item you have, if you don't register it on this website and put in a value for what you paid or what you think it's worth right now, or so on and so forth, and if we ever find out you sold it, you get 20 years in jail, when no one would actually do anything, but they're scaring you into confessing all of your sins on this website. Well, then, yeah, maybe that'll happen. Do I think that's likely? No, because you can still crack anything out of a case and boom.
I would crack all my slabs if that ever happened.
Yeah. 100% as long as they're not serial numbered, because any numbered card is still going to be
private sales only, which I've already moved towards that.
But the reason government tracking of vehicles works is because you can't drive the car without the numbers associated to it. Collectibles, you can still move around without being in a certified piece of plastic.
Yeah, there's a bigger gray area. Yeah. But yeah, go ahead, Sol and RMS. What do you got? If you guys want to add to that?
No comment. No, I'm gonna just collect, buy, sell, treat my shit.
What he said.
Okay.
I was nodding the whole time, so yeah, what he said.
Awesome.
The other thing I was going to ask you guys is, we've seen the market for this is just, if you guys want to throw opinions in there, this is just more of a thought that came across as well. I was having a conversation with, shout out to Retroverse UK, Jake.
Yo.
And he was talking about when he entered the hobby, he specifically remembers one of the things that stuck to his mind was the number of members in the Marvel card group on the Facebook, right? The one that Ian owns. The one, the international one, or what is it called?
MCC
W. There you go.
W.
He recently stepped down, just
Oh, okay. Well, that guy though, originally I believe he was the guy who started it, founder or creator. But he said that when he joined, there was approximately 3,000 members, and I think that's upwards of like close to 7,000, if not at 7,000 already.
Nice.
And then so we were talking, and he was asking us how we felt about the foreign market, because that's a video we did recently, the NSTC podcast. And I was looking at the biggest group also for foreigners is currently at like 2,900 members. So I just thought it was interesting that roughly we're starting around at the same time as far as like the size of the market.
Yeah.
Right. I know Manu doesn't really, I mean, you've dipped your toe maybe when it comes to like the ASM 300, nothing crazy. You like the Italian.
That's it. Yeah.
But how do you
the Italian? I don't even have them anymore. I had multiple. I don't have any of them anymore. But yeah, just a little.
Wink, wink. But how do you guys? But how do you guys feel about foreigners yourselves? Do you guys foresee that as a market that has the potential to grow at least at the same rate that this Marvel card market is growing? Do you see that foreseeing exploding quicker than the Marvel market, or at a slower pace?
Counterclockwise, Soul, you go.
I think I don't have too much experience with foreign stuff. The only foreign, I guess, collectible would be kind of the 90s Marvel stuff, you know, the Pepsi
Mm,
stamps and all that
Mm.
stuff. I think speaking towards that, I think it'd be much similar to, let's just compare it. We recently talked about the 94 masterpieces, the bronze holofoils, just, they're rare. You look at the fundamentals of what gives a card value, they're rare. You need a buyer. How many people actually want the card? The hologram little treatment to it, as opposed to just a standard base card for the English variant. But I mean, I have, I all my stuff is in English. So, other than just a 94, 95 Flare, maybe some Flare Ultra Spider-Man sets, that are in Spanish. Yeah, I think it's a niche market. There's not a
mm,
lot of people looking for that. I mean, collectors that want to start it, collect more of the rare things. Yeah, it is rare. Definitely a little bit of smaller market if you're looking to sell or move on from it later on. But yeah, I mean, no experience. That's just kind of a light insight for me.
gotcha. RMS?
Are you just talking specifically just foreign comic books?
Yeah, just for comic books. Cards too. He touched on Pepsi. I wasn't thinking about those, but that was a great point because of the
Yeah.
Pepsis and the prisms.
Pepsi
Those
to
are
the
nice.
moon.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't compare it to Marvel cards. It's just different. I mean, they're just different markets.
Mhm.
The Marvel card stuff has actually it's continuing on, right? I know foreign books are obviously continuing on as well, but like I would say from like a value perspective, it's just rarity and print. I mean, the rarity of the print runs and probably and obviously the condition. Some of the third world countries and stuff that have probably low print runs, and they don't bag and board their books as in store properly, right? So you just could have a limited amount of editions for those foreign variants and stuff, and compare it to you do with English, and then also the art. I mean, a lot of their covers, they don't look exactly like they're the US
US.
ones.
Mhm.
So it's like I love collecting those. To me, it's the foreign ones. I like it because of what's on there. Like the what is it, ASM 346? I just got that one.
Yeah.
It says Venom Vive on it. Like I absolutely love the font on that and stuff. And then obviously the ASM 300 in Italian. Like I love the Italian covers. They pop. All their colors pop on it. So I say you just can't. I can't compare it to the Marvel card thing. I don't see it. I like for me personally, it is just like Soul said. It's like it's a niche, definitely a niche. But books, like the U.S. books are all in English, so you can read those books. Unless you're like you know more than one language and stuff, you can be able to go in there and start reading them because these are books. These are comic books. Their intention is obviously to be read and look at the art and stuff, but I just don't see it. I just don't see it becoming what this Marvel. And obviously, you have to look at the limelight, like, or who's putting this out, right? Like, we see that Upper Deck now. You have Fanatics with Marvel cards. You have all these things coming out. You have all the marketing and stuff going through IG on YouTube and everything. So, like, foreign comic books doesn't really have that platform yet. We have people on IG that do show it off and stuff. But I just don't see it right now. You know what I mean? It's
And,
definitely niche.
yeah, and I'll just counter you on a couple of those points, but I will say that I hope, to your point, that it remains niche. That's good for me because I'm enjoying hunting these books right now, and the more people join the bandwagon, the harder it's going to be. But the reason I believe that it's at least going to grow at the same pace, if not surpass the pace of growth that Marvel cards have, is because of the fact that the comic books in general have a bigger market and a more solidified market than even non-sports had before we started collecting Marvel cards. So I feel like it's an easier transition for like a comic book collector to get into foreign comics than it is for him to jump into foreign cards. And then the other thing that you mentioned was in regards to the languages, most of you have some slabs up there, but most people are slabbing up. We were just talking about everything getting slabbed up. Well, when it's slabbed up, the only thing you're looking at is the cover anyway. And that is one of the biggest reasons to collect foreigns is the variations in the trade dress and the cover. So I don't think that that's going to affect it as much as we might think. Another proof of that as well is how many people do you see all of a sudden? I saw a couple in Beckett slabs with that, which I didn't like, by the way, even though I did enjoy the size of the slab was smaller, that people are now are grading the mangas, I'm sure they don't read Japanese. You know what I mean? But they're getting all these mangas graded all of a sudden. So so I don't think the language is a barrier. And again, my take on that is just it has a lot of potential. But I will agree that a lot of it is gonna depend on condition rarity, especially for the newer comics. Obviously, Golden Age and Silver Age, you take what you can, but for sure, like 80s and 90s and modern, ultra modern, you're definitely gonna want to do the high grades. But go ahead, Manu. I think you had some points.
Oh, I love everything that you guys have said, and I like the points that you added to that as well. And I take a little bit from everyone because I as well do not associate foreign cards with foreign cards. I just don't. Like when I think about like the Pepsi Mexico set or the Brazil or the any of the Flair but Pepsi counterparts of it, I just think of rare cards that were internationally released, but I don't really make that delineation. I don't know if that's the word, but I don't really make that separation in my mind the same way I do for comic books. For whatever reason, they exist separately, but in a card basket, And I certainly don't compare foreign cards to foreign comics. I don't have any reason to say I think it's going to grow faster than or anything. But I like what you said, where you said that you think the rate of growth for foreign comic books could be equal to or possibly even surpass the growth that's happening in Marvel cards. If you think about Marvel cards as a community, it's relatively niche as well. Do I have any idea what the numbers are for foreign comic collectors versus card collectors? No. I think to stay on, like, because I don't have a real developed thought about it, but I am very confident in thinking that it's a slow and steady growth. There will be a continual spread of awareness. More people will buy the cool ones that they like, share them. More people will become aware of them. So slow and steady for sure. Is there a possibility of a spike? Will something happen to create a wave in the community? It gets enthusiastic and everyone jumps into the enthusiasm and all of a sudden things spike. That could happen. That happens here and there for a lot of things. That doesn't mean it's sustained. That doesn't mean it's indicative of long-term growth. I think the long-term growth is steady and potentially slow, but those aren't bad things. And what really inspires me about foreign comic books is, for me, forgive me, it is not about the story in the comic books, because like RMS said, I'm not going to be able to read that story if it's not a language that I am able to read. But it's about that artwork, right? Like he just showed the Italian ASM 300. That's an undeniably awesome book for me, whether it's Italian, whether it's not, whether it's a print, whether it's a poster. The fact that it's very difficult and high grade, which is the key component that I'm going to introduce to this conversation in a second. You did as well. That book is awesome. I do not care if I can read it or not. That thing is beautiful. It looks better than the domestic release of the ASM 300. It's not even quantifiable how rare it is in high grade compared to a 300. That is the one, and there are other books that don't have quite the same cachet, but over time might, right? You have really dope covers. ASM the 347. Is 347 the Shakespeare cover?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. And so I had some foreign versions of that. I forgot. I think they might have been Italian as well. Incredible looking books, right? And 346. I think I had the Italian one of those. It's the same cover, slightly different colors, different sort of gloss, and different sort of titling, and they're dope. And I think those kinds of books. Plus, I really speak for the niche that I'm in anyway when it comes to books, right? So the books that really fall into my lane, I see them appreciating over time, no question. And the idea of how difficult they are in the grades that we're used to doing in the domestic books really elevates the challenge of accomplishing those grades, which I think is going to propel the values of a 9.8 of one of those way higher than a 9.8 of what we're commonly used to dealing with here, right? There are some very scarce versions of ASM 300 and some of these other ASM books that I like, where I would assume 9.8s don't even exist yet.
Yeah, the Brazilian 300, that there's definitely nothing in a 9, like a 9 or higher in that.
Right. And so so if you accomplish a 9.8 in one of those, it doesn't need a massive buyer pool for the small buyer pool to know they've never seen one, and they will fight each other for it. So I think I am optimistic for the future of foreign books. My personal involvement is going to be very selective. It's going to be artwork based, books that I love, and I want to see a doper version of it. I want it to be,
Yeah.
it doesn't necessarily have to be better looking than the domestic version, but it has to be good looking in its own right, enough for me to distract myself from the domestic pursuit and be like, well, I'm gonna need that too. And that's what that Italian ASM 300 did for me. And that's what quite a few other covers have done. Few I've engaged with and owned, and very many I've admired from a distance. But like what Sergio is doing, he is a lover of foreign books to a very different degree than I am. And just from the podcast that you guys did together, I was learning and absorbing from that, right? Because I do not apply that much thought to such a wide range of foreigns. I'm really into like, there's 5 books that I know the covers, and it's like, if I ever see those in high grade, I'm going to bring them home. And that's kind of where I've been with it. But yes, slow and steady growth for sure. Will it outpace Marvel cards? I don't know. And I don't think I'm going to try to make a decision in my head. I think both communities grow.
Can I add something real quick?
Yeah,
like,
go ahead.
To my point that I was saying about, like, I don't think it's going to surpass Marvel cards, and it's because at Marvel cards currently the option is upper deck, right? There's only only one option for modern, and that's it. And now it's gonna, obviously, Fanatics is gonna likely take it over. That's the option. With comic books, you have English and you have foreigns. You have options, right? So like if I'm going to look at like the popular market of comic books, people will notoriously probably just going to pick the English ones first, and then they might dive into foreigns, right? But I just don't see like I just see like the options are just, you have options with comic books. You don't have that with Marvel cards. So you're almost forced to just get into that market and only go towards that, right? If you want to just stick with modern cards. So coming back to the foreign thing, it's, to me, you're not going to deny rarity. You're not going to deny the print runs and stuff, and the conditions. So like for me, those type of books will definitely bring a high value. I just don't see collectively as a market it's going to exceed Marvel cards, but who knows? It might, but from what I see, it's just about options. You know what I mean? Marvel cards, you have them. With comic books, you do.
And one of the great points you made right now was you are right in the sense that because Fanatics or a huge company, whether it's Fanatics or in the future someone else, they're always going to be pushing Marvel forward on the new product and bringing more awareness and more marketing towards it, where no one company is going to be pushing foreigns, for example.
Right.
That's something that you're going to have to get into on your own and do your own research. But just to stay on the subject a little bit longer, because I'm just being honest, I'm totally biased in the sense that I'm enjoying it right now. And the reason I made those, like connections is because when I just got into it, I wasn't even a comic guy. So I almost fell for the same thing that you're mentioning. And it's not that it's a bad thing when I say fall for it, but what I meant was I almost just went for English versions. I was asking around. I remember my introduction to Manu. One of my first DMs to him was, hey man, I'm looking to get into the comic world. I'm looking for Tales to Astonish number 93. What grade do you think I should buy? I remember asking him that. And I think his answer was the highest one you could afford.
Was that that's a good answer.
Yeah, it's a great answer. At the time when I had asked you that, there was 11.
I don't remember, but yeah.
Yeah, there was 11.98 in the census when you had mentioned that to me. And the last 9.8 sale, I think from then was like $6,000 or $7,000 sale, which was obviously way out of my price range.
It was pricey.
But since then, I think 2 have only been added to that census. And for those who don't know, it's from July of 1967, the original print in the U.S. So I started doing my research, man, and I actually found the Mexican foreign. And again, that was the biggest closer for me. Not only did I enjoy the trade dress better, the font was way superior, in my opinion, for that specific cover, but also like just the rarity. The fact that I couldn't find any others, even in raw copies, but I could pick up at any point. I could open eBay or offer up or anything and pick the English version up. There's no real rarity there. If anything, the U.S. comic market is driven by only condition rarity. That's it.
And massive demand. So if massive demand enters foreign markets and scarcity and rarity is and condition makes them scarce, just a 2 times the demand that currently exists could 5x values, you know. So
100%. But unfortunately, look, I will say the only thing I am actually not as optimistic about in the long term is the actual comic market as a whole, specifically English. And the reason being is because, I remember when I had a conversation with Soul, we neither of us owned comics as kids. Soul was mentioning that to me when I talked to him, and that was my experience as well. Like, so I could only imagine, like, my kids are not going to be nostalgic towards comics at all.
right.
So what makes us think that, you know what I mean? What makes us think, and how many kids right now do you currently see? We could go out to any park you want or a library, whatever the case may be. And how many kids are you going to see reading a comic book versus being on their phones or gaming devices?
Yeah. So I think maybe the idea of like investing in sort of current, sort of modern books as an idea of investing for your children, maybe that's not the greatest place if your idea is to have your kids be enthusiastic about it and have a market still where, your kids 30 years from now might sell them to other kids that are 30 years old. I'm a little convoluted in my delivery of that, but I hope some of that point came across. But I did hear somebody, it was Alpha Investments. No, not Rudy, not Alpha Investments. What the hell is it? Sean from Reserved Investments. The guy that's the antiques and collectibles consultant, and he's got opinions, right?
Yeah, he talks about Timmy a lot.
Timmy Kimmies and Poindexters, man, but he makes an interesting point about markets that have I'm going to use my own words, I don't remember his, and I'll paraphrase, a nostalgia cycle that may not repeat itself because the enthusiasm that we remember, there's not a new generation remembering it. But then the good news about it, if you want to look at it in a positive way, is we've still got 30 or 40 years to move stuff around, buy, sell, trade within some of these markets, right? Because us as I'm nearly 40, so I'll just say as a 40-year-old individual, for the next 20 years, I still want to be buying and selling. And we're still going to think this stuff is cool. God willing, we're still, in good health enough to enjoy these things and so on and so forth. So there's still enough time for us to engage with this market. But 50, 60 years from now, is an ASM 300 going to be really cool to someone that's 30 years old? It really depends on who Venom is at that point in time. And maybe he's still around as a character. Maybe he's not. It's interesting to speculate. I don't know what's going to happen, but those cycles. I think it was Jake in your podcast that gave the example. Maybe he gave this example of Elvis, right? Don't know,
Yes.
Kids, rest in peace. No disrespect, but as a pop icon from prior, kids currently couldn't care less, I would assume, about owning Elvis memorabilia, right?
Yeah.
So the market that cares, they're getting, they might be out of the game from collecting. They're just, living their retired life, not worried about memorabilia anymore. Like, who knows, right? So those are important thoughts to think about when you think about what you're doing. Are you a long-term investor? What are you doing? So on and so forth. That's very important to think about. It's a good one.
One of the things I want to add to that is I remember, I forgot what channel it was, but I remember watching like a little sale going on. It might have been Pawn Stars, but I'm not sure, where this guy brings a copy of the U.S. declarations, one of the declarations, and I think they go. By the way, I was even surprised by the price point. You've sold books higher than what this thing went for, which is crazy because it was a historical piece. It went from, if my memory serves me right, it was anywhere in like the 15 to 25,000 price range, is what it went for.
What is it like it was an iteration of the declaration? I think I saw that.
Because there's a certain number of copies of it, and that was one of the copies. It might it had everybody's signature in it. It might not been the one per se, but it was one of them. But anyway, what came to my mind when I saw this episode and just trying to tie this into the whole comic thing, I think that's going to be more of the place for comics down the line, is going to be more of a historical significance. And if we see it through that lens, just again, I'm sure I'm being biased, but to me as a collector, I just enjoy rarity over mass production. So if I'm thinking like 50 years down the line, and someone's talking about, we could even let's take a Silver Age for example. Let's not make it something I own. Let's say it's an ASM 50. and they show me an ASM 50 US version. I'm like, hey, look, check it out. This is what it is. And I'm like, oh, okay, how many of those are around the world? There's 3,000 of them. I don't know. Oh, but check this out. This Mexico or this Brazil or this X version, there's only maybe 100 of these known. Well, guess what? I'm going to be more geared towards a foreign version than the US because I don't want to be part of the 2,000 club. I want to be part of the 100 club. Personally.
No, I totally understand.
Yeah.
And
Last point I want to make real quick, sorry, was just to share this on the ASM 300 covers. I was on the same boat as you guys where I really, and I still enjoy that Italian cover. But the more I've been diving into the foreign comics, and I don't own any 300 cover, mind you, not yet at least. But one of the ones I am looking to acquire is not the Italian, but the Dutch. I'm really loving the hint of blue on the top. It really sets it off. So the Dutch one for me is the one. But if I had to put a top three, that Italian one is up there for sure. And
wait, does it fade into the blue? Is it like a gradient that happens towards the top? Okay, I'm thinking of something different. Okay.
Yeah, it's very similar to the US version. It's just a little bit shorter and wider, but it has the blue font on the top. It's just dope.
Oh, okay, dope. Yeah, and I don't know. I think about it, like, you know, Spider-Man has stood the test of time. Movies are still coming out. You know, we're 60 years into Spider-Man, and it's done nothing but appreciate and value, and it has historical significance as, you know, a top 5 character created in comic books. You know, somewhere in that realm. And 60 years from now, Spider-Man could potentially be immune to it if its pop culture significance is still resonating via, you know, new forms of media, so on and so forth. But there are definitely going to be things that won't, you know, there's definitely going to be things that won't stand the test of time. But like a true that turns into sort of historical significance. Like, to me, that's, whoa, someone's going to be mad at me. Spider-Man's first appearance is, nope, can't say what I'm about to say. I'm just going to say it's very important to me.
Yeah, it's interesting. I will say to attend that foreign section, that in general, I do feel for whatever reason the way this new generation absorbs things, to them, I would say pop culture is even more relevant than actual politics and historical, you know, anything historical for whatever reason.
I'm betting on 90s nostalgia for the next 30 years. That's what I'm doing. All right. Glow in the dark, Venom Newsstand.
Glow in the dark.
They are.
Yeah. No, I know, but the way you said it, yeah. No, you're good.
Man. I'm investing in the fun stuff. All right. And we'll see what happens.
No, that's a good
I'm not investing. I'm just having fun. I'm not investing.
There you go.
I have no intention to invest. I'm just having fun with the hobby of comic books and cards. Grade whatever I want. I don't give a shit what people say. I'll open up Marvel Masterpiece Excel. You know, I don't even care. I'm just enjoying it. No investment. If I want to make money off of a card or a book or whatever, so be it. You know what I mean?
He's going to be the one that ends up with $1 million worth of random things that he just loved, and they just happen to appreciate. $10 million in a box. You know, he's going to be the one that doesn't invest is going to have all the stuff.
You guys actually have a very similar take in the way you collect. Obviously, in RMS, we're more so with cards than you with comics.
We enjoy a lot of the same things. Yeah.
No, for sure. Not so much the Venom and the characters. I meant so much more so in the sense that you guys want to create the censuses versus just buy them outright.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
You know, you guys want to create the 9.8s and 9.9s. He wants to create PSA 10s, and that's fun. I like that you guys enjoy that because I'm the guy who wants to buy the 10. You know what I mean? I don't feel like going through the 50 copies to try to find it. I'll let you guys rock out, and then I'll reach out to you guys, and hopefully I can get a good deal on it.
Well, we like that too. We like to buy 9.8s and 10s as well. If we see, like, you know, if it's a quick, like, if it's not really like, I don't know. I buy PSA 10s. I buy 9.8s. But, like, I think for me, I just like to pick something that I'm like, you know, it's low pop, and I'm like, let me see if I can generate.
You like the challenge. You like that.
Yeah, I just like the challenge, and I have fun. And then obviously the anticipation when you pull up the PSA app and you're sliding through and you're like, oh yeah, like, let's go. You know, you're all nervous and shit, and then you hit that 10, you're like, it's like, to me, it's like, that's like open up packs.
Yeah. I would say that, yeah, that's crazy too. That was a good point. You know, when, especially how smart of PSA to do that, right? The way they reveal your grades to you.
Yeah.
that's definitely more nerve-wracking, to your point, than even like opening a fucking case and on upper deck and waiting to see where your hit is. I'm more concerned about what the fuck my card got graded than what.
Oh, right.
Because I already know the hit. You know what I mean?
No, I graded cards. I had a 50 PSA order one time, and I was so nervous when I just printed it out. Right. I won't look on the website. This is before the app. And I would literally take a binder, just cover up each card and slowly go down and go, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. And then like, and then look at the grade and go, and like, yes, no, yes. Like to me, like I was so scared and nervous, but like when you get that, the excitement of that, that's why I loved about grading. It's that aspect. Is that you hopefully create something, and it can be a low value card or high value card. But it's so much fun.
No, I'm not seriously investing in this, but I am going to sell it. But I'm just saying, I love this. I buy these because I absolutely love these, and they are difficult 9/8 newsstands. Yeah, sorry, me.
Comment.
No.
It's turned into a selling video again.
No, I want to derail it.
That's Manu for you. You know what I mean?
Who wants to buy?
No, I don't like regulation. No, just joking. There's something that I bought the other day. I think it's super cool. So check it out. So I was on this original art website, and there was a piece that I wanted, right? And this is very different than what I wanted. The piece that I wanted was up there for $3,500. And I texted the guy that runs the website, and I said, what's the details on this piece? And he goes, which one? And I said, the such and such. And he goes, send me a picture. I sent the picture. He goes, shit, man, that one's gone. And I was like, damn it. And then 5 seconds later, it was removed from the website. Some of these original art dealers, they got too much stuff. They don't know what they sold at a con, where they moved it. I was like, man, fuck. So I started poking around the website more, and I see this drawing of Venom that I loved. Okay, I was like, what the fuck? That's amazing. And it was $75. Okay. And I was like, and it said artist unknown. So it's just some random commission piece that some person drew somewhere. But for $75, like any of you guys, any of my friends could have drawn this, and I would have given you more than $75 for it because I like it that much. And I just want to show it. Look how dope that shit is, bro.
Oh, that is sick.
He's got that 90s sort of demented, sort of like funny style face. There was this kind of artwork and stickers that was out in the 90s. But then look at the hands. Look at the web.
It looks kind of menacing too. What is it, 94, 95 flare where he's up on the ceiling?
Oh, exactly. Oh, yeah, that's that poster that I did not intentionally put up here, but it happened to. Yeah, I didn't. I had no. I did not.
His hands kind of look like this Venom's one.
Oh yeah, that's the other poster he had on rotation prior to that. Hey, real quick, do you want to touch on RMS? Show the one to the right, that Battle Spectrum. Do you want to touch on that story, Manu, by any chance?
You know what? Damn, yeah, let's do it. Okay. Let's touch, man.
So I'll open it up. I was having a conversation with Manu, and
wait. No, damn it. Hold on. Just give me a second. Friends watching, sorry, I have to think something through real quick. If you tell this story right now.
Oh, you're scared of competition?
No, I don't.
Oh, okay.
I'm not in. I'm not into it anymore.
Oh,
for the reasons. But what I'm saying is, it would end up supporting. Just tell.
I just think it's a cool story.
It is.
We can't let an individual get it in between a good story.
Fine, tell us.
All right, so I was chatting up with Manu the other night, and we were just talking about pieces that I've owned that I've let go over time. And one of the ones that this is the only piece of OA I ever owned, and I actually sold it already. But it was what you just showed. It was the Battle Spectra. Venom versus Spider-Man original sketch by Joe Jusko. But what's fun about this, the original sketch, is that Spider-Man was not facing the audience. He was facing away. And once you see this sketch, though, I'll be honest with you, as I was with Manu, I'll send you guys the DM a picture of it. It will fuck it up for you for the card. You'll never see that card again, or the way it is, because it's not what Jusko wanted. And what Jusko had in mind was 3 times better, in my opinion, than that. Venom, I will tell you that Venom did not change. his position and everything that's depicted in that art is the same. But Spider-Man was actually standing on a chimney, facing Venom, ready with one hand open and one fist, and it was just such a dope ass pose. So an individual, I was looking to move that because I was, again, this is right in 2021 when everything was going and moving, and I was like, hey, this is a good piece. I got in it for a good amount. I was able to 3x my money and get out of it. And I reached out to an individual that showed a lot of interest in Jusko. He was a comic collector. So yeah, I ended up moving it. But in the conversation, I told, and Min was like, oh, do you know who you sold it to? I was like, of course I know who I sold it to. I sent him all the info, and he reached out trying to make a deal happen, and it just didn't work out. But again, it's a nice piece. It's not crazy, and again, for people, if you really think about it, it wouldn't be a published piece because that's not what ended up going into the card.
But
So
it's the inspiration of it.
Mm-hmm. And the
It's
story
like a
again.
case study or something.
Yeah, well, what happened was that when Jusko turned it in for approval, from what I know at least, Upper Deck told him, or Skybox at the time, told him that they wanted him to redraw Spider-Man because since he had a lot of fans and a lot of popularity, they wanted him facing the audience, so people could recognize that it was Spider-Man, as if people wouldn't recognize that it was Spider-Man just from his back with the Spider-Man.
A spider on the back.
Yeah,
I'm gonna run with this story now because there's a couple things that I want to add. So first of all, dude, when I'll say this, when Elusive told me the story, when he said, "Yo, I had the original for the Battle Spectre Venom Spidey," I was like, "What?" And he said, "Nah, not the one that got published, but there was a way that Jusko wanted it, and I had that original, that the pencils for that, the drawing." And I was like, "And you sold it?" And I got really excited about the idea of this piece. And he shared a picture of it with me, and I didn't know the dimension of it. I didn't know the size of it. I was just like, I'm going to try to buy that. Who has it now? Elusive told me who had it, and Elusive provided me several other details. Now, Elusive just, very simply said, because he's realizing that I don't want to talk about this too much because I don't really want to compromise someone or make someone feel weird or bad or whatever. But at the end of the day, I also want to defend myself. It didn't just not work out. That's how Elusive said it. He said that to protect me, to not get into details, but I don't like this to just be represented in the way that it didn't just not work out. No. Someone screwed it up for themselves. It would have worked out. The amount of money that I was ready to pay, the amount of money my initial offer was, we would have made a deal. But someone didn't know how to finish a deal. Someone didn't know how to treat someone the right way. Someone didn't know how to be honest when obviously I would probably know the truth. Like, someone didn't do their homework when constructing their response to me and shot themselves in the foot is what happened. And after that happens, the way that I am, no piece is more important than the energy associated with it. And so when I don't like the way that I am being, I'm not saying the way I'm being treated, I'm not talking about entitlement here, but like if someone doesn't use some tact when conducting themselves, or no, when someone thinks I'm stupid, I take that's what it is. When someone thinks they could play me, I take very personal offense to that, and I do not give a shit about the item anymore. At that point, all I want is to not financially support that individual.
Now, to be fair, before Manu keeps going, I will say this. I did give him a heads up, and I did tell him, hey, just by looking at this individual, because unlike I did do my homework, and I told him, hey, and he meaning the individual, I told him he does not look like a seller. He looks like someone that collects, kind of like what RMS was saying. I just collect, and if I want to sell something, I'll sell it.
Yeah. And,
so all that to tell you that he's not a salesman, so he probably didn't know how to approach the situation. I mean, I'm just trying to play devil's advocate and maybe defend him a little bit because he's not here to defend himself. Right. So that's the only thing I could think of,
Yeah, I just didn't enjoy being lied to when it was very easy to assume that I probably know the truth. Like, you didn't have to do much thinking to realize that I probably knew the truth. And so that was insulting to my intelligence. And I have stopped communicating with that individual. And that's kind of unfortunate, right? Because prior to that, I don't know the individual. We're connected socially, but I don't know the individual. We, follow each other on Instagram. I don't know the individual. So there was no reason for me to have now this reference point of, well, I would prefer not to deal with him because this is how he would choose to deal with me. That's the decision he made to respond to me in the way that he did, when my original response was, my original engaging him about it was such a, that could have been a grand slam for him. The way that I set it up for him to bring it home, for him to sprinkle in a bunch of nonsense for whatever reason he decided to, was incredibly just like, really? Well, the hell with this piece. I don't care about it that much. I don't care about it at all anymore. So whoever has it or gets it later, whatever, I'm happy for it. But I don't want to like promote, endorse, support it, because like I feel like personally offended by that. Now, maybe he doesn't know me well enough to know that he should have known better. I don't know, whatever, right? But I know myself, and it was too easy to connect those dots. And I will say, when I ran that piece by RMS, because I was excited about it, like I was like, dude, you got to see what I'm about to try to get, right? And I sent a picture to RMS, so on and so forth. And he actually knew the story. He was like, dude, I've heard Jusko talk about this before, you know? And so he knew the story about the piece. And when I started to see the piece, I became a little less interested in it anyway, because part of me realizing that I'm not going to deal with this individual, I wish him the best. If he happens to hear this or whatever, I wish him the best, right? But he should know that I know what he was doing. I didn't tell him because I don't care. But I know what he was doing. And, you know, the piece is smaller than I intended for it to be. It's 8.5 by 6 inches. It's, you know, it's a small piece. And then it's no longer framed. When you had it. So what?
No, you keep going. You're good.
When you had it, it was framed. It's no longer framed. And it was too just fucked up looking at that point. You know, like there was the other part of the story that had gotten kind of tainted for me. And then it just kind of looks like wrinkled up, like wax paper. You know, it's like literally like a scribble pad drawn. It's a really cool thing, but it's trace paper. Yeah. And so it didn't look premium as a product, you know, as a piece of art. It looked just like a drawing on wrinkled up paper. But the story is what the value is. The reason that thing is amazing is because that was Jusko's idea, first put on paper, rejected, but doesn't mean it's not real. To me, that is the beginning of that card.
Right. Especially because that's what he intended.
And I would have bought that because the story.
Exactly. And let's be honest, it is. And I told that to Manu. I was like, look, I've had it in hand. It's not impressive in hand, but it's the story. And if we're honest, especially when it comes to high art, like high value art, what is special about it? It's a conversation starter. And that's definitely something that you can have a conversation over. Which most things you just look at it and you're like, oh, that's awesome. But there's no real story that goes into it.
I was excited about having it. It's not like I offered him chump change for it. I offered him more than he paid for it. He was just not understanding that I knew how much he paid for it. Okay. Like there's the kicker. He didn't know that I knew how much he paid for it. And then he told me a story about how much he paid for it when all he needed to do was ask me for more money. A negotiation doesn't matter. I'm not trying to teach anybody how to do anything. That's just where it all went wrong.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, and you know, obviously, we'll fill you in. So when we close it out, you know, because we probably don't want to put it on there, so because you're kind of confused about the whole thing, but we'll break it down. It was crazy.
Maybe Sol and I talked about it. I don't know. I don't remember, but we'll definitely talk about it after the show because I don't remember if Sol and I spoke about. RMS certainly did, right? RMS heard the same out of me that elusive you heard out of me. You know, I tried to call you that night to let you know. Like I was like, man, what? You know, that kind of thing. But anyway, God bless, homie. Wish you the best.
Yeah, and just to wrap things up on this one, I appreciate all you guys joining me. How do you guys see the next 5 years unfolding for Collectibles? And what things do you guys hope that improve? Like things to get better? Any aspect that you guys pick? I don't have a specific, you know, like
third-party grading.
Okay.
I want that to improve. I want price tracking to improve. I want certain auction houses to report their prices. I can't stand how Comic Link.
So transparency.
Like, why does Comic Link move so much product, doesn't report their prices, and doesn't, if I understand correctly, I might be wrong, I don't even think you could do a back history search of sold prices after a certain point in time or something. There's something weird, but they don't report them to the pricing services, which is really strange. But so a better record keeping of how much things are trading hands for when they're public. Privately, I don't have any expectation about that, but public ones, for those to not be recorded, I just don't understand. Maybe there's some reason that I haven't connected in my head. Maybe if I own an auction house, I'd figure out that reason, but at the moment I haven't connected it. And I want a trusted third party. I want multiple trusted third party grading companies that we could trust with our stuff, trust with the safety of the product, all of those good things. So in the next 5 years, I hope those two things happen to help elevate our space.
So, or RMS, whoever wants to go first is cool.
Go ahead, RMS.
I hope there's less people so I can buy more shit.
Yeah.
You know, I hate losing auctions. I swear to God, I'm like, I go after something and it's like, it just, and I'm like, oh man. But no, in all seriousness, I would love to trust a grading company with my shit. So like, if I said a collectible with you and stuff, and even PSA, like PSA is not immune to this shit at all. Okay, PSA has fucked up my cards. They've messed up some of my collectibles before. It didn't happen often, but I'll tell you what, CGC, man, I don't know how many cards I had to get re-slabbed. They slabbed it upside down or backwards or whatever, or they, you know, the way they shipped it and stuff. So like for me, I would love for the grading company where you can just honestly feel comfortable sending something to them. They grade it accurately. You get it back in a timely manner, right? And then there's still controversy over it, right? You get your grades explained to you. You know, PSA. Shout out to PSA for doing this. They're going to be having grader notes and stuff on their cards.
That's
so,
right.
like for me, that's huge. They never did that. I would love to know what the hell did I get? Like, what was wrong?
What I missed?
Isn't that greater note? Aren't those only for higher tiers, like higher submission
right now,
levels?
yeah.
Okay.
I talked about that in our stream today, actually.
Yeah, so I think that's going to be good. But like I said, I mean, like I'm in the grading world, so I think for me that would be awesome because they've already improved a lot of stuff. If you look at it, like you can grade a card, you can put it to a vault, you can sell it on eBay, right? And you don't even have to sell it. It goes on PSA's seller account. They sell it.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you wanted it sent back, they send it back from the vault to you and stuff. So like there's so much seamless like transactions. You can easily grade a card and sell it immediately without even touching the damn thing. So I do like that. I hope that's good. I hope our collectibles and stuff and that kind of like that realm and that routing of it and stuff will, you know, they'll be safe and everything. But I definitely I would like to send stuff and trust that it's being graded accurately, timely, and then that I trust them. There's no controversy over any of that shit.
Yeah. So
I want to see the community grow, man.
yeah.
Less gatekeep, less do this and do that.
No, we can't let it grow because Aaron wants to buy RMS.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, never mind. Okay, then I take it back. I want 94 masterpieces.
No, it could grow. It could grow. We just don't need gatekeeping, like you said. Like we don't need people's like the what's it called? There's a word. There's a phrase for it, but I'm just gonna stick with gatekeeping. We don't need people.
The old guard.
Yeah.
No. Maybe. Okay.
He just said yeah, just to agree with you.
He was like, Manu, shut up. Like yes, Manu. Yes.
No, I agree with. I want it to grow too, but I just don't want people gatekeeping and holding stuff back or just doing weird shit behind the scenes and stuff. You know what I mean? If you're gonna be friendly and stuff on camera, you should be friendly outside as well. Those type of things, you know.
It's harder to keep the gate when more people are trying to knock it down. Gatekeeping is easier when it's a smaller. I've never said that before. That is a bit of a poem, my friend.
That's all right.
Hey, I've heard that before in Game of Thrones. Wasn't it Hodor or what was that?
Hodor.
There you go. Anyway, go ahead.
So, a hoarder?
No. Yeah, if you know, you know.
Yeah, exactly. What was I gonna say? Oh, to what you had said, RMS, about certain people, I think when you expect less out of them and then they act the way you thought about them, you're not surprised, you know. Certain people, and I tell this to Moon all the time. Everybody's in their own little world. You can't fault them at that. Who they are is who they are, and how they want to act, whether it's, you know, in a negative connotation and they mean it that way, or if they're doing that and it's, you know, subconscious, you know, then that's who they are as a person. Or they get on the camera and they start acting different, or behind the scenes around certain people, you know. But it's, you could all look at it from a different perspective, you know. And to contradict that, sure, is perspective reality sometimes, you know. But don't
I
know.
mean, shit. If you feel it really deeply and you're conducting yourself based on your perspective, well, your perspective definitely shapes your reality.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, 100%, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, 94 bronze hollow foils.
Let's go. Let's go.
I'll throw in mine.
Yeah.
Mine's wishful thinking, but I do love when it comes to, especially with bigger corporations, I love competition. I do hope that more people come into the space specifically to be able to have platforms to sell. As ComC came in, I think ComC is a good example of someone that could start up from scratch and still compete with an eBay. And I mean that because of the fact that the fees are too much, and we don't really have options if we're honest. Like it's either eBay or an auction house, and the fees are very similar, if not more so.
How do you feel about just kind of like the viewership on like said item, you know, international? Do you think what 13% is too much, or you think it should be a little less? I do agree with you. Yeah, it's eBay. You know, everyone wants to move privately and everything, but I think it's a tough pill to swallow. You know, and you might end up getting the same amount that if you're to move it privately, but you do have more eyes on it. So I mean, yeah, that's a constant battle as well too.
Yeah, to your point, I think there's a lot of nuances for sure. Like I think that here's one thing: if I'm going to pay a higher fee, then I expect a broader audience.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, to your point, then I could just sell it privately. If I know the only 3 people that might be interested in the card, I'm not going to waste my time on eBay.
No.
I'm just going to reach out to the 3 people.
Right. Yeah, you should do that first so you avoid the fees and stuff. Yeah.
Right.
And then I've always used
all
this
the
example.
sellers.
Yeah, I've always used this example, but I use it again. What really bothers me, because we're not talking about like, there's obviously comic books in the hundreds of thousands, but even to that point, when a realtor sells your house for $500,000, $1 million, whatever the case is, they don't take more than 5%. So why should you take more than 5% for an item? And I also think, especially eBay, one of the things they need to correct is like taper off those fees as the price sells for more and more.
Do they? I think there is a cap. I just might not have ever sold anything for a certain price.
There was a cap. There was a cap. I don't sell, you know, really expensive items anymore. I have an eBay store. I can't remember. They did change something. I don't remember what it is now though, currently.
Yeah,
I'll look it up real quick, but carry on.
I think, well, look, it's still messed up, but one of the things I still think is slightly better, like a slightly better option than that, is what these bigger auction houses do, where they have the buyer's premium. So, right, because as a seller, you want to have the least fees possible. Now, if the buyer's interested in the item, then that's on the buyer to be willing to pay that extra 10 or 15% or whatever their buyer's premium is. But as the seller, I want to make sure that if I want to sell something, I don't get raped. You know what I mean? And sorry for the word, but that's how I feel sometimes on small, especially on certain things you sell.
Wait, you said you like how the auction houses do it? Well, come again? Hit me again.
Well, I like the option that instead of you having to pay up for all the fees as a seller, the auction houses charge the buyer.
They charge both.
Yeah, the seller.
But I'm just saying, like, if I had an option, at least I'd rather say only do buyer's premium, make your money off the buyer's premium, don't make your money off the seller.
But you understand. I mean, I didn't mean to phrase it that way. Let me rephrase it because you understand everything. Yeah, sorry.
I don't know if I understand anything, but go ahead.
A buyer's premium is a marketing tactic to make you think it's not coming out of your pocket. If the buyer's willing to pay it, it is coming out of your pocket.
I said the seller. No, the seller.
I know it doesn't matter what you call it. It doesn't matter what you call it.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, because it's not added on
fee off of what someone was willing to pay. Yeah. It's still, you know, it's the same. It's just a different title.
Yeah, that's a solid point.
Yeah. It's just marketing.
I would love for eBay to have cheaper fees, man. I hate it. That's why I moved. I don't sell. I put stuff on eBay, but like I do my best to try to do private sales because of that.
Yeah.
So you just pay taxes and stuff, but you get hit so much.
Let me hit y'all with some facts real quick. Oh no, go ahead. I got it pulled up.
No, it doesn't really have to do with any like I guess eBay's fees and
where the hell did you come from?
No, it's got to do with eBay. It's got to do with eBay. If you scroll all the way down on your eBay app, do you know that they do live shows also?
Yeah,
dude, I still haven't seen one, but yeah, I got friends that sell live on eBay. I ain't watched one yet though.
I get notifications all the time. I'm like, hey, they're on eBay live sale. Okay.
Yeah, I know. And then I do know some like people do have contracts, you know. you know, Manu has mentioned this as well, or maybe it was Manu. I don't know. Maybe I'm just trying to save his face now. But certain auction houses, you know, you can opt out if you know you bring a lot of sale or bring a lot of
you negotiate.
business.
You negotiate. Yes, you negotiate.
Exactly, and even Whatnot, they have contracts with sellers based on probably their commissions, and then I know that you also get discounts. That's why you see an influx of for Pokemon CGC cards. This huge influx of them. But yeah, no, it's that'll be kind of interesting to see. Just to your point, Elusive, about just another platform. Trying to, I wouldn't say challenge, but also going even to fanatics, how Star Wars kind of, I wouldn't say died, but it's just kind of, you know, flowing in there. You know, there's still markets for them. The community, even then, is still kind of small. Maybe not as small because much like Upper Deck, you have your sports like inserts, you know, Star Wars Topps Finest, Topps Chrome Black. And then Upper Deck had a lot of, you know, familiar inserts from sports, but I don't know. I just like to see the growth in the community. I'm sick of seeing the same 7,000 people. Nobody's. I'm not talking about anybody.
Good. All right.
I'm just joking.
The two categories here. You got on eBay. You got these cards, collectible card game thing. You got books and magazines. I'm gonna go off the books and magazines one. 14.9%. 14.95% on total amount of sale up to $7,500, and then 2.35% on the portion of the sale over $7,500. So to simplify, if it's $15,000, you're paying 15% on the first $7,500 and 2.3% on the second $7,500. So it is reduced, but it's not capped. Yeah, reduced but not capped.
Yeah, that's 15% too much.
I don't really see somebody like My Slabs came in right a couple years ago, and like, where do you see them? Like, it's hard to compete with eBay. eBay is turning this thing into a monopoly. They have CGC in their pocket. They got PSA in their pocket.
Yeah.
I mean, what happened to and you see what they did to PWCC. PWCC used to be on there, right? Yep. They used to have an account. They're like, oh, you shill bitten? Okay, shill bit again, and we'll kick you out. And they did. They shit canned them. So like, they are like an absolute monopoly right now.
Shit-canned.
You know what bothers me too? Look, no one's mad about if you have a successful business at all, because that just means that you're probably providing a better experience for the user. But to a certain extent, like, dude, you're making money off every fucking transaction. Like, that's a lot of. Imagine how much they make per day, let alone PayPal fees on top of that.
That they are just loading their pockets, man. You sell more shit, they get more. Their pockets get bigger.
I mean, Elon fucked up. We should have bought eBay back.
Hey, I had stock in eBay when I was younger, man. When it first came out, I had stock in eBay when they first went, and yeah, I honestly don't know what happened with that. I think I sold it when I got like 18 or 20. I can't remember, but yeah, shit.
Yeah, man. Yo, good thing that you would have been scooping all the Silver Age comic books right now, dude.
Like I said, I don't do investments. I don't do investments. Okay, I don't do investments. So there you go.
Nice. Anything you guys want to add other than that? Any shout outs, any anti shout outs you guys want to do?
Can we cut that whole part out about the Justco thing? Like, I don't even like talking about things.
I apologize. I don't do edits. You know what I mean? I'm not Doom. I just straight upload.
One day I'm going to tell the story again, and I want to let enough time to be removed because I actually want to tell the story. I want to talk about what went on, you know, the messages and everything, because it adds an element to it that is not going to make sense in the way that I just told the story, because I'm trying to avoid, you know, harming someone. Right? I mean, not harming someone. You don't want to speak badly.
I think if I was him, I read it loud and clear. I don't think there's that much more details you have to add to it. I personally don't think so. I think if anything, I'll be honest, I think if people knew the whole story, I don't think they would see it as a big a deal as we're making it seem even possible, to be honest with you.
It'd still be a good story.
No, yeah, that's why we told it.
No, man. That part yeah.
I'll let you have it. Go ahead.
Thank you. Great. All I get are these charity trophies. I get the pity parade or whatever.
No, you're good, man. But yeah,
what do you guys got to add? Yeah.
Any shout outs, Soul or RMS? Any shout outs to anybody?
I like to shout out to all you guys.
Thank you, man.
You know, shout out to Elusive, Soul, Manu, I mean,
No, the story does get better. If someone lies,
No,
to you
we're
and
past
say-
that. We're past
Yeah,
that. We're
yeah.
get over it.
But
It's okay.
thank you for the
he's
shout
not
out.
letting
No.
you go.
Thank
Yo,
you,
guys,
thank you for the
you
shout
guys
out.
have a good one. I appreciate you guys joining me.
No,
Till
not
next
yet.
time,
We still
guys.
got time.
We're gonna end it on that. We're gonna end it on that. Thanks so much, guys. Peace.
Shout out elusive.